Hey guys, welcome back to the Cowboy Slot channel. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about cruise ship slot machines. And I have with me today a slot machine technician that worked on the cruise ships. Dean, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm glad that I can provide some insight to many questions you guys might have.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get started, Dean, tell us a little bit about your background in slot machines.
Well, I have about 15 years experience with slot machines as a slot machine technician. I've built them from the ground up, programmed all different types, IGT, Bally's, Bluebird, any different kinds that there are. So I have a lot of experience with them.
Awesome. And you worked on the cruise ships, correct?
Yeah, I've worked for a major cruise ship brand, and so I have firsthand knowledge with their slot machines and a lot of the insight to it.
Awesome. I know because a lot of viewers have been commenting and asking me about cruise ship slot machines in particular. So
Yeah.
most of the questions today are going to be based on cruise ship slots, but I'll also toss in some other questions that other people have asked me as well in reference to other topics that maybe you can help clarify and get a second opinion on.
Yeah, of course.
So let's just get right into it. I think the biggest question that I have, and I know a lot of people have talked about it, is so we all know that slot machines are governed and controlled by either a tribe or a state's regulation, and there really is not a federal standard for slot machines. So I guess my biggest question is who is responsible for ensuring that slot machines on cruise ships stay fair? Who's responsible for putting the programming out there and setting those odds? Who's the responsible legal party for that on cruise ships?
Well, a lot of it comes down to the same kind of requirements and laws that apply to a cruise ship to begin with any other one, and that's what country that cruise ship is flagged out of. And many of the cruise lines, they flag their ships out of Panama. So not only does Panama have to deal with any other laws on the ship, but also Panama gambling laws would be the higher authority for those. Now, of course, any cruise ship that does enter United States water, the IRS does require them to provide 1099 Gs if anything's a taxable win, but that's a bit subjective. Ultimately, it does come down to the laws of the government that ship is flagged under.
Okay. So really, my next question is, are the payout rates or percentages that get programmed into cruise ship slot machines, are they any different? Are they better? Are they worse? Kind of describe from what you've worked on the payouts on those. Like, are they worth it for players to play?
Yeah, of course, that's a really good inquiry to have too, because I hear it all the time. You know, people thinking that casinos that are on tribal land might be better than those that are on state land, like in Vegas, versus cruise ships. Now, cruise ships are going to be equal, if not a little bit better. So when you hear the term having loose slots, a cruise ship is probably going to be a little looser than your traditional land-based casino. So it's probably a bit better for people to gamble on a cruise ship. You're going to have higher percentage payout rates on those ones probably than you'd have on land.
Okay, awesome. So you kind of touched a little bit on the IRS, and one thing that I'm interested in is how do taxes work on those? So if somebody say wins $1 million on a cruise ship, how do the taxes work for that since it's international waters?
Yeah, and of course, so it's going to be, of course, your nationality. We'll just assume everybody that has that question is an American citizen. You have to pay taxes on everything, no matter what country you get it in, unfortunately. And so the IRS does ask cruise industries to provide 1099 Gs to United States citizens. Now, I say that very loosely because they're very loose with theirs as well. You might get a cruise ship that doesn't hand those out all the time. You might get one that they're very staunch on handing those out. But yeah, the federal government does ask any US citizens to be provided with a 1099-G.
Okay. So because there's so many moving parts with cruise ships and with the gambling, as a tech, having worked on the ship and having been inside the machine and programmed these machines, can you reassure the players that it's fair, that country isn't trying to cheat the player? Like, what are the levels of security involved to make sure that nothing gets changed that shouldn't be changed or anything like that?
Yeah, so machines on cruise ship aren't going to be any less secure than the machines on tribal land or in Vegas or on private land. They're going to be just as secure because the United States, the DEA still does regulate those slot machines, and they still have to be registered because American citizens are going to be playing them. So they still want to know that they're legit. Now, just like any other slot machine, they can't be reprogrammed without a long process. So you don't have to worry about them being any taking your money any more than a normal casino slot machine would.
So with that being said, is there a way, any way at all, that a cruise ship casino can remotely change the odds? Or I know a lot of people have said it. There's a magical switch in the sky, or the eye in the sky is watching.
Right.
When it comes to actual reprogramming the slots, is it possible for them to be remotely changed?
So that's a really good question because, as I'm sure you know, and any other slot technician, it's a tedious process reprogramming just the odds on the machine because it's not something you can change with by opening it and pushing a little button or remotely do. It's a whole entire process of reprogramming the entire machine. And on a cruise ship, if anything, they want to make it even more difficult for that to be programmed. So I can tell you firsthand that a slot machine is programmed one time when it goes on the ship. Anytime they have any problems with it, that machine's taken out of service, taken off the ship, and just replaced with a backup. So they basically on a ship make it a little more difficult to even program those odds and change those.
Okay.
It'd be nice if there was that magic button to change things
That
quickly.
magic button, right? So if you had, and on this question, I'm not just talking about cruise ships. I'm talking about all casinos everywhere, just playing in general. If,
Yeah.
as a fellow technician, if you had one piece of advice to tell any slot player to help improve their chances of leaving with a profit, what would
Yeah.
you tell them? What would you tell them? What would your advice be?
Stick to higher denominations. Those are going to have the higher percentage payout rate program to them. Avoid the penny and nickel slots. Go with $quarter, $5 if you can. Not everybody can do, $20 high roller. I'm not saying go to the high roller room, but yeah, stick to the higher denominations because they statistically are programmed to pay out a higher percentage of their winnings.
Awesome. So I guess really the other question that I really had for you is there is a lot of mistrust between players and casinos. I mean, the myths, the legends that are out there. How do you feel about those misconceptions? How can we reassure players that they're not being cheated out of their money?
Yeah, so a slot machine is random, and I know people have the myths with the randomized particular programming with it, but they truly are random. They can't be changed that easily. The programming, it's kind of one and done when it comes to that. And the saying that the house always wins, that's kind of an old timer misconception with it because they do have to make their profit, but at the same time, this programming is there for you, the player, to protect it. And the best way that you can try to change that mistrust yourself through any player is try to play the higher denominations. I can't stress that enough. And you'll start seeing the return on your investment, so to speak. So it'll help you change that thought process as well.
Right. And there's a lot of myths out there. I've gotten comments from people saying, does the volume affect the gameplay of the machine? Does rubbing the glass, or is there a difference between pulling the arm and pushing the button? Is any of that true?
No, the pulling the arm and pushing the button is a good example, because as you can see, my machines have arms and the buttons, and as you know too, when it comes into it, it's a mechanical button on the inside, and they are tied in with each other, so they don't. The computer inside doesn't know any difference whether you're pulling an arm or pushing the button. It thinks it's just connecting the two together. But no, it'd be nice if one of those lucky charm ways of doing things worked, because I'd be doing it more.
Right. So, and really, and I've gotten this comment a lot, which has kind of surprised me, but a lot of people claim that that the volume somehow affects the gameplay of the machine. Is the volume even remotely connected to the program?
Not at all. Not at all. It's actually a completely separate system. And as you know, I have two different types of machines here. And having it in my house, I don't want it loud where it can wake up anybody else. So for the most part of the lives of these two machines, they're not off now. The volumes were completely off. And I'll tell you, there have been jackpots hit on both of these, and just as much as regular spins, and the volume completely off. So no, the volume has nothing to do with it. That's just an attractor for the casino to bring you in to play the machine. That's it.
Right.
Nothing else. That's all.
So kind of for we'll wrap it up a little bit because I don't want to make the video too long, but I do want to go back to cruise ship specifics. So we have let's say we have a family and they're going on vacation, they're taking a cruise. Is there any cruise specific tricks to the casinos that people can use, or anything that's very different about cruise gambling, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, there's not a lot of differences between cruise gambling and then the land-based casinos. People do have to keep in mind that on a cruise, you might have a day or two at sea, so they want to keep people there. So if you have mom, dad, and the two kids, the kids have their, splash pad to go to, mom has something to go to, or to the casino. Mom and dad, the cruise ship wants to make sure they're happy. So that's where it goes back to that programming for the payout percentage. That's where it's a little looser. They want to keep mom and dad happy, so mom and dad are giving the cruise company more money, and they want to make sure they're occupied, that they're not bored, at sea for a whole day. Other than those small little details, a cruise casino isn't going to be much different than a land-based casino.
Okay. So why is it that the casino is because I've taken several cruises in my life, and as an avid gambler myself, it's always been frustrating to me that I can't just go right to the casino, or if we go to port somewhere, I can't go to the casino, or the casino closes when it gets within a certain range of a country. Why is that the casinos on cruise ships aren't always open?
So the reason they're not always open is because of the regulations, again, with where the ship is flagged. So within so many miles of the bordering countries' boundaries, they have to close. And that's because they can only operate in international waters, or else they would have all these different hands in on the slot machines. And as a player, you wouldn't want that, because you would have the United States federal government involved in the programming. You'd have the state of Florida, if any of them go stop there, and then say that same cruise ship, goes up the eastern coast and stops in Boston and New York City, and you'd have so far 5 different entities hands on this, and they're all going to have different laws regulating gambling, and that would be awful for us, the person at the machine. So that's why they have it that way, is operate freely in international waters with only one code to follow, and that's their home flagged country's code to follow.
Okay. So my final question, and then we'll wrap up. And this is more just you personally. So you personally, if you had a choice between a regular state-run casino like someplace in Las Vegas, an Indian tribal casino, or a cruise ship casino, knowing what you know, and if I'm not mistaken, you've worked for casinos on land as well.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know, which casino do you think has the better return for the player? Which one would you personally play at?
Well, working for all three, I've worked for a tribal casino as well as a privately owned casino, as well as the cruise ships. I would definitely feel more comfortable with a cruise ship one. I don't know, having played all three, I feel that the tribal ones are the ones that don't pay out as well. This is personally just me and my experience. And then you have Vegas that not as well as the cruise ships. And I personally would gamble in a cruise casino any day over the other two.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Dean. Well, thank you very much for joining the channel today. I really appreciate it. And for all of the viewers watching, I do plan on doing more interviews with techs from all walks of their career, as well as I'm going to try to be getting some interviews with gaming commissions, gaming inspectors, and so on and so forth. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications for future videos. And Dean, is there any last minute thing that you wanted to tell the viewers out there?
Just have fun, play on, and don't take it too seriously.
Don't put your
Stay away
life
from those lower denominations.
no penny machines, right?
No penny machines, for goodness sakes, no penny machines.
All right, Dean. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.